Hey, what is going on out there, everybody? You are listening to Expanded Perspectives with me, as always, Mr. Kyle Filson.
How's it going out there?
And I am your not-so-coordinated co-host here, Mr. Cam Hale. And we are going to have a little fun for y'all today.
That's right. Thanks for tuning in. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. If you're new to the show,
yes, welcome to the tribe.
That's right, yeah.
We're going to have us a little clique going. Everybody has a team. Everybody has a group they like to get involved with. We got to think of the name of a good group. You know what I mean? There's like the Death Squad that Joe and Brian and all them have, and Eddie and all that. And so we need to get us a pretty good little team going or something.
Maybe people should email us some ideas.
Yeah, shoot us some
emails. That's another thing. I really
us.
want people to start emailing us some of their stories. We do a lot of stories on this show about crypto or paranormal things or ancient history or things. Is there anything neat that anybody has? Like maybe you found some artifact when you were hiking one time, or maybe you had a out-of-body experience or a time slip.
For sure.
If you have anything creepy, if you email a really interesting thing, we've had people, emailed time slips and stuff before. We'll read them on the air, And
we've gotten a few emails, too, of some subjects that they were wanting us to kind of cover and maybe interview a few other authors, and we are definitely going to get into that.
Any ideas or authors or people you think that we should have on the show?
Now, folks, Kyle and I have been hard at it this past week or so. So we've got a bunch of interviews in the can that we've got to come up.
Man,
we've been going
busy.
at it. Yeah,
we'll have 5 interviews in a week.
In about
7 days, we did 5 interviews.
Yeah.
From the full spectrum of stuff too. We had some ancient history. We had
our next one coming out after this show is going to be Gerard Williams.
Yes, Grey Wolf.
We're going to talk about the escape of Adolf Hitler. Then who else did we interview? We did Jim Tucker.
That's right.
On the reincarnation. We did Frank Joseph.
That's correct.
Of some ancient history. We did Rick Osmond of some ancient history. We are interviewing John Anthony West on some Egyptian history coming up. And for those of you that are into the MMA and the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, as Kyle and I are, and also conspiracy theories, we have got Eddie Bravo is going to be on the show.
That's right, Eddie Bravo, founder of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu.
That's right. That is right. I can't wait to talk to Eddie,
too. The Twister.
The Twister.
So Ghetto Lean and several other movies.
The electric
from
chair. Yes. I can't wait to talk to Eddie. So, folks, we're going to talk some good conspiracy with him, but I know I'm going to start rambling into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, we'll probably get into talking to some jiu-jitsu stuff, but mostly conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
He's really big on chemtrails and a few other things.
Tower 7,
yep.
And the 9/11 conspiracy.
And he has a podcast of his own.
Yeah, Eddie Bravo Radio.
And he has a band called Smoke Serpent.
Hopefully he'll let us use some music from that band because it's really cool, too.
I bet he would. He's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy. Hey, Philly, I saw something in the news. I didn't really think about it much. I just wanted to run it by you. Did you see where, I believe it was Uzbekistan or something, where they found the snow leopard? They got the picture of the snow leopard with the game camera.
I saw that.
Up there in the same general vicinity, they said, of the Yeti.
Yeah, I saw that.
So it's another animal that they didn't think really even existed up in that area. Now they caught a picture of it.
I don't think they thought any of them were around anymore. Mm-hmm. With that game camera, then evidently there is a small population in that area.
So that's pretty interesting.
What country did you say it was in?
Oh, God. Is it Uzbekistan?
Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
I think that's right next door to Nutsackistan.
I knew that was coming. Why did I open the door for that? Hold on. You son of a bitch. Let me look.
I'll have to find links to it to put on the show notes. But
it's a cool photo.
Yeah, it's like a snow leopard.
I think I saved it here. Make sure I've got it. I'm sorry, Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan. It's snow leopards.
That's pretty cool. Did you see where they found a species of shark in like a fish market that they didn't think was alive anymore?
No, where was this at?
It was in like a Japan fish market. I guess
what is not over there?
Bebopping around and was like, hey,
market.
wait a minute. I thought that was an extinct species.
Would you eat it?
Would I eat it?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
There's not much you won't, is there?
I'll try almost anything at least once. You don't know. It might be really delicious.
It might be.
That's why you don't pass it up.
Sewer rat may taste like pumpkin pie, but I'll never know.
That's true. I don't know. There's a few things I would not eat, like balut and stuff. I don't think I could stomach that.
I don't know if I could.
Bad.
I can't say I wouldn't, but I'm afraid it's the texture of the tiny feathers. That's those half-grown duck eggs, folks. If that's not what you, the little salt.
And it's not just a half. It's like fermented.
Stop
too.
already, man. The only way I could do that is if I was like 12 beers in.
I don't know. That'd be even worse.
Bullshit, dude. I've seen 12 beers. But I can't even talk. I'm 12 beers in now. I've seen 12 beer Kyle. I've seen like 25 beer Kyle. I'm pretty sure I could get anything down Kyle with that many beers in him.
Well, that's true, but I don't know about eating strange things.
That's the other guy. Yeah. That's the other guy comes out. Yeah. So what are you going to do? I'll tell you what I'm working on today. I am going to do my segment on the Stephenville lights.
Oh, yeah.
I have been talked to about several times about doing it from different people. My niece, Lou, the basketball player, her boyfriend, Connor, has been asking me to do a segment on it. And he was a quarterback in high school, and he's from Stephenville. So he's like, man, do a segment on it. I'm like, all right, man, you got it. So I went to doing a little research and kind of scratching around. So
and for those that don't know, Stephenville is only about 20 miles from where we're at. So
it's a little, it's a 45-minute drive, really, maybe a little farther than that. It's like a 45-minute drive just south of where we're at. Man, we've run around there tons and tons of time. And yeah, so the whole sighting, I'm not even going to get into it right yet, but it took place in 2008. So
I remember.
It was like the first part of January when it took place. So it's kind of, somewhat.
I remember when that was going down, I would go out at night a lot and look around the sky to
see if you could see something. Yeah.
What's strange about the place that we live, we're so close to Dallas Fort Worth International Airport. I mean, there are tons of stuff in the sky every night. So it's really
well. And you remember when Carswell was still up and really going big too with all the planes. And I mean, even over your office, I mean, it sounds like there's airstrikes constantly.
Oh, it does. And I mean, like the Blue Angels come to town like once a year, and then it sounds like they're landing on the roof.
It's like there's just a lot of flight patterns and stuff. And then I learned some things about down around Stephenville area too that has to do with some of that. So I'll talk about some of the flight paths and things too.
We're definitely right in a flight zone because I mean there's a transponder on somebody's ranch I know out in Millsap.
Really?
They use it as like a beacon for the planes coming in. Yeah.
Nice. So what are you going to sneak in? Because okay, folks, we weren't kidding. Whenever we said we don't really tell each other what we're going to do these segments over, Kyle gave me one word. And all he's told me was slider. And I said, well, isn't that like a little hamburger or a little sandwich or some shit? He won't tell me nothing else about it. And I have no idea. Only thing I can think of sliders is like the television show with the wormholes that they bounced around in. And that's all I can think of.
Yeah, the name it has nothing really to do with it. It won't lead you to what it is. It was coined by a guy named Hillary Evans, who is a researcher who devoted his life to the sliders. So when I get into it,
okay,
you'll figure out what it is.
Are you going to play some old Toadies music, some backslider?
Oh, I never thought of that, but that's a pretty good idea.
We have to throw that in there. The Toadies. Well, I guess we'll take us a little break right quick and get us a little drink, and we'll come back in, and I'll jump right in the middle of the segment.
Sounds good.
All right, folks, you're listening to Expanded Perspectives.
And we're back with Expanded Perspectives. I'm Kyle Filson, and with me always is Cameron Hale.
What's up?
Let's get into these Stephenville lights here, sir.
Oh, I'm going through all my paperwork here.
What did you find out? Break it down for
here we
people
go.
that are living under a rock that weren't aware of this event that happened in 2008.
If anybody out there, I'm sure there's a lot of ufologists that listen and things like that, so bear with me if y'all already know the whole story. The thing is, I feel ashamed of myself because it was such a close thing to us. It's almost like a lot of the JFK assassination things. I mean, hell, it's in Dallas, and I've never been. So, it's one of those things.
Going to Daily Plaza and looking at it?
Yeah. So I feel ashamed of myself for not doing it, and it's kind of the way I felt when I started looking into this. And there's not a lot of wild stuff, I guess you could say, that really happens in the skies right around here. Because like we said, there's so much air traffic. Mm-hmm. But when it does, it seems to bring down a lot of attention. So I'll give you a quick summary of what all the stuff I found. Okay, for everybody that knows, Stephenville has a population, just to kind of give you a rough idea. This was the last time the census was taken in 2010. The population was just barely over 17,000 people. Now, it has a college there. It's college name's Tarleton University. It is a kind of like a smaller sister school of Texas A&M. And they've always been known for great Texas football. Of course, something about this area right around here is known for great Texas high school football. So anyway, And then, of course, the town we're in is about almost twice as big when you talk about population. So, you got to think about half of that. So, all right. What ended up happening was on January 8th, 2008, there was dozens of residents in the Stephenville area reported seeing a UFO in the sky. And they said it was very similar to what they saw and people reported seeing in Arizona. When they said that they saw because in Arizona that was in 97, March of 97, they reported seeing large.
It was flares, right?
Well, that's what they claimed it was. But, people have these videos that look like large dark triangles and things like that.
So this thing was a gigantic black triangle?
They report seeing a similar aircraft to the size of a football field. And then some people even said it was nearly a mile long. Now, how you would how would you would judge that? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Unless they're just going off the lights that they saw from one end to the other of the lights. If it was all in one ship, it was like a miles long length of light, something like that. Other people said it was the size of a football field. Even there was some reports of seeing an actual shape of the craft. Okay. It was also reported by these same witnesses that they saw military aircraft at the time following these lights and following this unknown aircraft.
They were tracking it?
Well, this is where it starts getting sketchy.
Or they were scrambled to try to intercept.
This is where it starts getting a little sketchy. About 2 weeks after it was first publicized in the Stephenville paper and it really got out that they had seen something, I think it was actually publicized in the paper, published January 10th, where the military had claimed nothing happened. That they said,
now, was this a one-time event? Because I thought they had been seeing stuff in the skies for a couple days in a row. It wasn't just a one-time thing.
This is the one-time thing.
It was a one-time thing.
That they have seen here. Yeah. Now, I'm sure there was reports of other people, that they start going, well, I saw something right before all that or 2 nights after that. And that could have been them just looking into other things. But this was like a one-time thing. And they had claimed that they had not sent aircraft. And then that there was no aircraft in the area. And then a Major Carl Lewis, not the track runner, okay, Kyle? A Major Carl Lewis is a spokesman for the Carswell Naval Base, changed the story completely, saying, well, that there had indeed been U.S. jets in the area. In fact, that there had been 10 F-16s in the area that night, but that they were just doing some training exercise.
Training exercises at night?
Yeah. Now,
okay.
This is where you start getting on both sides of the fence. You were like, well, at first they claimed they didn't. Then they turned around and changed the story that they did. And people started, of course it comes out now, the truth is, did they change their story because they knew maybe from the FOIA Act, the Freedom of Information Act, that if anybody really went to digging, they sat around and actually had a little head cruncher, and they said, if people go to digging on this, they're going to know. So we got to go ahead and release this story. Oh, we made a mistake. Now what?
Well, Carswell's notorious for this. I mean, Carswell Naval Air Station, as it is now, used to be Carswell Air Force Base, which you remember is the first place the wreckage from Roswell was flown to.
Where one of them landed, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it was flown there first, and then from there went to Wright-Patterson. Yeah. And, that's where they changed the story from the weather balloon. All those pictures you see is taken at Carswell.
In a hangar there at Carswell.
Yeah, so they're notorious for this.
Yeah. Well, and then it starts making you wonder because, like I said, which is more disturbing, the fact that they changed the story a few days later or the fact that they said, oh, yeah, there were 10 F-16s, but we forgot what day they were out practicing on. So, like I said, you can play devil's advocate and go, oh, well, they really knew it and they're covering up. Or you can say, hey, it's a training exercise. It didn't mean that much. They're just out practicing. I can't keep up with every day, but, I mean, hell, the news.
Now, was this thing hovering or was it?
I'll get into that.
Oh, okay.
This is the things. I actually have a clip to play where you can actually hear some of the witnesses from Stephenville talk about exactly what they saw.
Perfect.
Now I'm going to play that clip before we get into the skeptic side of the story. All right. So, okay, you jumped into. We now know that they changed their story. That Carl Lewis, the spokesman for Carswell Air Force Base at the time, changed his story and said, well, they were in fact, the F-16s in the area, and there was a Robert Powell of MUFON. And he was the National Research Director, and a Glenn Schultz, and he's a retired radar analyst. They spent hours, hundreds, I'm sure, of hours going over all of the radar information from 5 FAA towers in the surrounding Dublin-Stephenville area and reading I guess it's like a chatter of something, or however it comes out. I'm not a radar dude, to see if they could find anomalies in it. And they found the jets, and they knew that they could link that with to track the 10 jets, and they didn't have any trouble at all, finding that. And this object, now here's a really strange thing that I found reading. They say that this object was actually on a course to intersect with President Bush's Crawford Ranch home at the time.
Oh, okay.
And that it was actually last spotted about 10 miles from there.
So it was going to the Crawford Ranch?
It was going in that direction, yes.
Huh.
Yet they say that there was no military scrambling of the jets, nothing like that. So it's just strange to me that the fact that if there is something going over that home, I don't know if the president was there
I'm
at the time.
I'm going to make an assumption here that whatever people were tracking this on radar were tracking this object, and they noticed that it was heading towards the Crawford Ranch. So that's probably when the phone call went
to send them up.
And they scrambled the jets.
That would be the way you would feel.
Right.
That would be, you'd be like, okay, that's what they've done. They know
Yet
that
the military is claiming that they're not aware of any object, and that the F-16s that people saw were just on a routine transmission.
Well, at first it was like, oh, you're not aware of any object, and we didn't send any fighters. And then it came out later, a week or so later, oh, well, yeah, my mistake. They still didn't agree to the object. They just said, yeah, we had fighters up doing a training exercise. They're still not agreeing to the whole object at that point.
I got you.
So they're just up practicing. So here's another strange part of the whole story. 4 jets actually flew over what they consider civilian airspace, which would be like over a town, over a city. 4 jets encroached over the top of there after deviating from Brownwood operation area on return to Carswell. So instead of saying, and the reason they don't fly over civilian, in quotes, airspace is because of the noise issue. You got jets ripping over the top of small, rural towns. You just don't do shit like that. They try to stay away.
They used to do it a lot when
country.
I was younger.
They changed all that. I remember as a kid, where we grew up, they used to it was no big deal to see them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they quit doing that. They kind of shied away from that. They're more respectful to the civilians, and they try to, leave little towns and stuff like that where they don't just go tear ass and 500 foot off the hard deck blowing over the top of it.
Right.
Yet 4 of these planes did that coming from Brownwood, which is south of Stephenville, back to Carswell. Here's another strange thing, y'all. There were 2 other jets traveling from Carswell from an Oklahoma air base. So they're coming from Oklahoma to Carswell. They made a wide sweep through Comanche, Dublin, and the Stephenville area before returning to the Carswell base. So that makes...
So there's a lot of aircraft in the air that night.
Yeah. And now, whether or not that's what they consider part of the 10, I never could find if that's what they considered part of the full 10. Because that's 6 in general right there. But if it's not part of the 10, then that's 16 jets that they had at one point or another in the sky around this alleged sighting of a craft. That makes no sense to me, that the fact that if they were coming from Oklahoma to Carswell, hell, you might as well just take 35, fly right down the top of 35 and land right in the middle of it. But
I have no idea.
You're going to sweep that far out this way. You're going to branch all the way down. As far down to Brownwood and Dublin and make a loop. Now, why would you be called off into a training exercise halfway into a flight path also?
It doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense at all. So these are kind of the little anomalies that have built this story to the boiling point of there was something in the sky. This is what we saw. Okay. There's been several reports. I'm going to pull this little video up. We're going to play a little sound clip of it. This is a little video of several of the witnesses, what they saw. One of them's a constable from Dublin. There's several other witnesses of what they saw. So play this little video. It's about 3 minutes long, folks. You'll get to hear them describe what they've seen.
Tuesday, around this time, a little later, about 7 o'clock, I came outside to get something out of my car.
We was at a real good friend of mine's house in Selden, Texas, a suburb of Stephenville, Texas, named Mike Odom's house.
I was in Stephenville, Texas. I had just walked out of my house, escorting a couple of friends to their car that were leaving.
I saw a red glow. It was a fiery red looking color I'd never seen before. Didn't appear to be too far off the ground. It lit up and it faded and it reappeared right next to where I'd first seen it.
Beautiful sunset that afternoon. We looked towards the east and saw 2 strobe lights coming towards us at a very high rate of speed. The closer it got, the slower they got.
When I looked up and noticed a couple of large red glowing objects gradually moving at low altitude across the evening sky just after dark.
I looked back in the sky, didn't see these red glows anymore. Instead, out here in the sky, I'd say 3,000 to 5,000 feet up in the air, I saw several white lights, bright lights. They appeared to be like strobe lights, and they were moving around the sky, not really grouped together. They were pretty far apart, just bouncing around.
By the time it got even with us, probably a half a mile away, about 3,000 foot above ground level, it passed by. We could see the back side of it had quite a few unusual strobe lights flashing, and they reconfigured to a vertical strobe light scenario, and they turned into a flame, and then it just disappeared.
These things were very silent. They were quite large, probably as large as an aircraft, and yet they were glowing spheres of light that were emanating very brightly.
I don't know what it was. I never saw any kind of craft, never saw any type of helicopter. Basically, all I saw was lights.
10 minutes later, here it comes again, and comes by us at a pretty high rate of speed. And it had to, about 4 seconds or 5 seconds after that, it had two military jets, looked like F-16s. I couldn't see the tail, so we're not sure exactly what they was. And it was headed back towards the Fort Worth, Dallas area. So that was the basic event of it. It lasted, duration that time was only about a minute or two. First time we saw it lasted 2 or 3 minutes, and we got a very up close and personal look at it.
Well, I'm still wondering what I saw, and the amount of time that I was able to view them and how close I viewed them, then I don't wonder if I saw them. I just wonder what they were, everything, and I was wondering that when I saw them. What are they?
Huh.
So
It sounds like strobe lights, though, or red orange globes or something.
Yeah.
No description of a black triangle.
or does it? Well, that's not what they saw. Of course, they're just
Right.
talking about. Or does it sound like flares?
Man, I don't know.
Okay, the reason I bring that part up is now that's when I get into the other side of this story. Here's the other part of the story. There is an astronomer and retired Air Force pilot named James, I'm going to butcher this last name, I think it's Magaha.
Okay.
Anyhow, he claims that it is nothing more than flares being dropped during a training exercise, is all that they saw. And his story is that he contacted the FAA the next day to ask if there were any aircraft that night that had entered the, in quotes here, is a Brownwood Military Operations Area, which is an MOA. A military operations area is, I guess, like a pseudonym of what they use. And the MOA, the Brownwood MOA, begins about 10 miles southwest of Stephenville. Mm-hmm. It's a 3,200 square mile area used for military aviation training. So, James, on, let's see here, January 18th, contacted the 301, the 301st Fighter, what does this say here? The Public Affairs Office, to ask if there was a mistake in saying that their aircraft had not been in the MOA. Because that's the first thing they told him is, no, there was nothing going on that night at all.
Right.
Basically, he got the same story that everybody got. And now he alleges that he contacted them again and said, are you sure? And apparently they later called him back and informed him that they had made a mistake. And they had called him on January 23rd. Now, this was cited on the 8th. They called him on January 23rd, set up. Then they issued a press release publicly acknowledging the error and that they had stated that, yes, F-16s had indeed been flying over the MOA that evening. So
this is confusing. I mean, half the it could be flares. I'm not sure that an incident even happened.
Well, and this is the part of the more of the stuff that I get into is it gets stranger from this. And this is where Magaha says that they dropped flares, that he says that they use these flares. These flares actually, I didn't get the name of the flare, but they have like 2 million candle power. They're extremely luminous. They have small parachutes. That's when they shoot them up or they drop them off, or it illuminates the whole area. That's what gives them the effect of a strobe, that they can be seen from 100 miles away. They're so bright, and that you can see this, it almost looks like a strobe pattern as they burn. And from the winds and the heat off the flare, he alleges that it can cause the rise and fall to make them look like they bounce. Now, I'm sure the rise and fall is not very much. We're not talking about 100 feet, but 4 or 5 foot, of heat, and then it cools and heats, and you know what I mean? And it kind of gives it that fluttering effect that makes it appear as if these things are moving. Also, he claims that there was an added testimony from a medical helicopter pilot and retired U.S. Army pilot that was flying that night. And I forgot his name. I should have got it on here. But anyway, this man quotes that he saw multiple military aircraft with some dropping flares in the Brownwood 1 MOA. So, and he was a military pilot. He claims that he saw the flares actually being dropped off. Now, this is another thing that you can get into where it gets conflicting evidence in the case. And this is kind of something that I hate to start down this path, but could it have been only flares used in a military exercise? Sure. It could have easily
It's
been.
almost what it sounds like. I mean,
you're exactly right.
Now, I mean, not all the testimonies, but the 3 gentlemen that were speaking in that audio clip, I mean, based on what they said they saw,
Yes.
and with all the military activity, and them claiming they were doing training exercises there in that area, and your description of the flares and what they would look, man,
It just almost sounds like a training
that's
exercise.
what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, no one described seeing an actual spaceship hovering or flying by, or you know what I mean? Like It didn't sound like that. It sounds like,
well, and could the military office, like we said earlier, could have been only an exercise, and it doesn't really mean much to them. It's like practice, like baseball practice. It's not a real game. We're just going to do some exercise. Could they actually have forgotten when they scheduled it and had to be like, no, we didn't have anything out there, and then they flip through it because no is maybe their typical answer.
Yeah,
then they go through it and go, oh hell, we did. All right, call them up. Hey man, sorry, we forgot. We did have a little exercise going on, and maybe. How about we go down this route? Maybe they dropped the flares and they were too close to a civilian area, and they acknowledged it was like, oh, that's our mistake. We were too close to mess around, and we're like, oh.
Anytime a UFO is seen, let's get out and start throwing flares everywhere.
That's just what I was fixing to get into.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Or could this have actually been a craft, be it a secret governmental craft, be it extraterrestrial, otherworldly, be it interdimensional, and that's what they do. The military in place in case this happens. They have this already in place. Not only do they scramble the jets, but while they're scrambling the jets, they start dropping flares. They drop the flares to add mass confusion.
Hey, it makes sense, right? I mean, that's what I just thought of it. I mean,
yeah, it makes perfect. It's a very feasible thing that there's so many. I mean, it's an unknown sighting, like we talked about. It's very plausible.
I think I saw a show. Now, I might be thinking of a completely different incident, but I thought I remember a guy from Stephenville saying that he looked up and like he couldn't see anything above him up other than the spaceship.
Yeah.
Like it took up the entire sky. Now, did this thing happen? That's what I was trying to figure out by listening to all the different eyewitness testimonies. Was it dark out or was it not dark out? Because some of the guys are saying it's dark. Some guys are saying it's
right at
sunset.
dusk. Yeah.
Or then we couldn't tell if it was an F-16. Well, I'm like, if it's nighttime, you can't see an airplane in the night sky. Yeah. You can see the lights,
but you can't make out exactly what it is.
So
you're just as confused as I was.
I know.
Because
I'm just saying.
This is what I kind of got
maybe
into.
that's why there's no real books on this subject, just because there's not a whole lot there. Or anybody that looks into it walks away saying,
it's
what?
military.
Well, this is what I got. Misidentification is what I think this is. Now, did they have anything though from the radar, the FOIA of the radar blips? I mean, did anybody actually see anything on the radar?
I couldn't find anything that said that indefinitely they had a craft on the radar. Now, like I said, these claims that it was on its way to the Crawford Ranch is just that. Maybe it's unsubstantiated claims.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
It still feels more like a training exercise. Now, I'm not saying there wasn't, like we said, maybe there was a craft there. I don't know. When this guy says it went past him in one direction and then turned around and came back over and the jets were following it both directions.
Yeah, that's not
flares. That's not a flare. I don't give a damn what the wind, it can't blow a flare back and forth across the sky where something's chasing it.
That's not a flare.
But it does make what you just brought up, makes it a very wild idea, the fact that this is part of their protocol. Whenever you have a sighting, scramble the jets, drop some flares, get a lot more shit in the sky. Let's get as many people confused as we can. So if it comes out, oh, hell, they were just flares.
Yeah. It almost seems that way. Well, like the Arizona case, I mean, that one doesn't seem like flares to me is because how many people saw it. I mean, I think there was like 700 people.
Well, and then they have some pretty good footage of it that appears to be a craft of some sort of what I've seen anyway. It looks, and on this, you really can't find it. You had a few people say they saw a craft. I want to know this. Did those people that a small percentage that say they saw this craft in quotations, were they just wanting to see a craft, or did their mind's eye, you know how you look at something and the human brain tries to put a pattern to it? Was there these different
absolutely.
flares?
You know, when you're deer hunting,
a straight line. Oh yeah,
almost
yeah.
everything you see, you think is a potential deer.
Yeah.
So I imagine the same thing happens to when the people go squatching. Almost everything they see to them.
If you're really switched on, you want to see it. It almost feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking up and you see something bizarre, depending on what type of person you are, is your first jump that's an UFO, or is your first jump, well, that's an experimental aircraft, or
Yeah.
it just depends on
If
what
you don't
mindset you're in, really.
exactly, it does feel that way. And also, too, we've always said, how do you judge size and things up in the sky? I mean, it's tough to judge.
There's
the
no
actual
scale.
size. There's nothing to
Yeah.
go by scale. And even then, it's also, even if you had something by scale, what's the distance from what you're seeing to
you're
that other
right.
item?
The guys that said it was nighttime and he saw it, it was about 3,000 feet off the ground. Okay, like if you walk out my front yard right now and show me a passenger aircraft going over to Dallas-Fort Worth Airport and tell you how high it is, I have no idea.
There's no way. I could take a guess, but that would just be me guessing.
It's a complete ballpark
because
guess.
I think I know how high they actually travel.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? I mean,
There's a water tower not far from us, from where we're sitting here recording.
uh-huh.
I've been on top of that water tower multiple times.
Sure.
I know how high that tower is. That's hard enough to stand at the bottom of it and just look and go how high it is, because you always guess it, man, that's a long ways up there, when it's really not. You know, I'm talking, it's 118 feet. I've stood on the very tip top of it. It's
Yeah,
118 feet.
It looks a lot more than that. Yeah.
It looks like it's 250 foot tall up there. Don't you look at it, you're like, oh my God, that's tall. It's not. That just goes into it. You know, you're like, man, like a radio tower. You see a radio tower sticking up there. That some bitch looks like it's a half mile up in space, you know, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been my thing, is it's, I'm not hating on these people that told their story, what they saw, but if now listening, folks, if what you just heard of these eyewitnesses reports, and then you also heard me describe these flares, does not the flare make more sense?
It does to me.
But that's still not saying that there wasn't a craft there, that somebody didn't see something, and this is the military. But I'm also not going to play that guy. I'm not going to play the crazy UFO conspiracist. Maybe it was just flares, and that's what it lends. It makes me want to feel that way. I feel like that's all it was. This is what I feel. I feel that it was a training exercise in this Brownwood MOA. They got a little carried away when they were dropping their flares. Maybe the winds were higher, you know, a little faster up high than what they thought. They dropped them, and they were damn close to a city, and they were like, man, we're going to get our asses in trouble. We are doing these training exercises way too close to a populated area. Imagine what one of those flares would do if something happened, the chute got a stringer, and that burning ass magnesium or whatever it's got fell into a hayfield out there in Stephenville and burned up a couple thousand acres. I mean, it could easily do it. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know how they drop them and they don't cause fires.
Unless they burn up before they hit the ground. I don't know. But these are just things I'm keep kicking around in my head the whole time I was doing it. And it just feels to me, after doing the research, listening to that story, reading some of these other things, it just feels to me like it's all it was a training exercise. I mean, if I'm wrong, folks, if there's somebody out there that has dug around and had firsthand experiences, send us an email, expandedperspectives.com. Shoot us an email. Let me know about it. You know, shoot me something on Facebook, shoot me something on Twitter. Get a hold of Kyle and I some way like that. I would love to take a look at the other evidence, but right now, I'm no expert, and I'm not going to claim to be. I'm just a dumbass on a podcast. That's it. But from what I have read, it seems to be nothing more than a training exercise.
That's what it seems like.
Of flares. That's it. I mean, that makes when he's talking about the flashes, the strobes, you've seen the movie Platoon, right?
Yeah.
It's the same flares. That's what I always think about, as those flares whenever they launch them up in there, and it's slow burning, and it looks like a strobe light as it starts getting close to the ground.
That's right. Yeah, they'll call the artillery, have to send them in. Yeah.
You know, that's kind of what it feels like. So I know it's kind of a bummer and everything like that. So, you know, I want it to be really, really awesome. You know what I need to do? I need to get Antonio on the phone and ask him.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And then see what Antonio's got to think about the whole deal. Shoot him
If anybody's in the Stephenville area that's listening to this, I mean, if you want to call in the show sometime or
send us an email or something,
we'd love to have you on if you saw something different.
I would even talk to some of these guys, but I mean, really, you get these eyewitness accounts. They describe flares to me. That's what they describe.
The audio clip you played definitely sounded like it could be flares.
Yeah, it does. So, like I said, folks, I don't know. Don't shoot the messenger. This is just simply my opinion. That's all it is. I did a little reading, a little research, dug around.
Either way, it's an interesting story. I'm glad you brought it to light here today.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks. You can Google search it like everything else, or you can just search up StephenvilleLights.com. You can read a lot of stuff on there. You can go to YouTube, and you can punch in Stephenville UFO, and you can put in Stephenville UFO debunked. You can do that in Google, but if you go to StephenvilleLights.com, it's a website dedicated strictly to everything that came from this whole deal, this whole Stephenville sighting. So it's all on one big website. But I would, like I said, do a little digging, a little research. I wished it was more. I wished I could say it was really crazy, badass stuff. But even these people here in the interview or in the little sightings, sound clip that we played, seemed like they really have nothing more to say than it was flashing orbs. So it doesn't really sound, I never heard anybody. After reading these claims of seeing a craft, I never found an interview where a guy really described this crazy, triangle shaped like at the beginning of the story. I said they saw
various
this.
colors. I mean, the colors they described were white or like orange or red, which to me sounds like a flare.
Yeah.
Wasn't green, turquoise. Looked like a diamond.
Yeah.
And it was spinning around, and it had a Nazi logo on the side of it, you know.
Well, and it's just that is I didn't find anybody talking about it. I read these accounts that it looked like the ships from Arizona, like I covered, but I never could find anybody giving a full detailed account of that's what they saw.
Well, another thing is how familiar are these people with what flares look like? I mean, I don't know what they look like.
Other than movies, I have no idea.
You know what I'm saying? So if somebody dropped one off here at the house and I was walking outside and saw it, I might be like, whoa, what is that?
Well, and just like he says, the helicopter pilot that saw it had been in the military, retired. So he has obviously done aviation, and he has obviously seen these in before. And when he saw it, he was like, oh, hell, they're having a training exercise out there. Well, that could throw you for a curve if you didn't know what you were looking at.
If you want to do something cool, folks, there's an app you can get called Sputnik on your iPhone or your iPad or whatever. If you go on there on Sputnik, it'll tell you the times that these satellites are going overhead, and it'll tell you where in the sky to look and the exact time. And I've tried it a couple times, and it's exact. I mean, it's perfect. It'll have a countdown, like 10, 9,
you can
8.
see them. Yeah, you can
and
see
you
the
look
satellites.
and you'll see it move across the sky, and it looks like a UFO. So if you want to play a joke on somebody,
on your buddies,
get yourself a Sputnik app, then tell everybody, hey, let's go outside and take a look. And then you're like, oh, my God, what is that? It'll really flip them. You can pretend like you're Dr. Greer. Stephen Greer, and you can just make UFOs materialize whenever you want.
How did I know that was coming? You're going to beat on a drum or something? Yeah, who knows? So, I hope you enjoyed it, folks. Like I said, I really hope there would be more to it. But, I mean, like I said, I could go on for another hour about talking about all these other accounts that people had, but it all still sounds like flares. After all the stuff that I read and all the things that I found, it all still feels like I just kind of stopped. I just kind of went, man, everything I keep getting keeps leading me back to the whole training exercise. So, until
it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have some different evidence. I would love for somebody to send me some more stuff on it, and I'll look at it and we'll bring it up again. But you're right, it is what it is. This is kind of all it feels like. So, hope y'all enjoyed it. Sorry, hope I didn't buzzkill anybody's fun ufology.
Well, when we get back, we're going to get into the sliders.
Let's do that. I'm looking forward to that. You've got my curiosity up, so I'm going to can't wait to find out what this is all about.
All right, we'll be back.
All right, folks, we are back, and now Kyle is going to try to blow me away with a little slider information and jump off into this little jewel that you've been teasing me with this whole time. I got to know what's going on here, and it's not a little cheeseburger I've done to ask.
No, it's not about cheeseburgers.
Damn it.
It's pretty interesting. And now when you originally tell it to you, you're going to be like, well, this isn't very good. It's actually pretty interesting if you think about it. Now, I know that you don't know what a slider is.
No.
And actually, a slider is a term that was coined by a man named Hillary Evans. And he's the one that really was the only one I know of that's really researched this stuff. Are you familiar with modern day streetlights? Like the low pressure sodium vapor lights.
Yeah.
They have like a photo cell in them.
Yeah.
and so it's like a little eye. So as it gets darker out, the streetlights come on. Sometimes when it's a storm blowing in, you'll see them come on because it's dark enough to trigger it. And then again in the morning, when it starts getting light out, they'll shut off. Well, sliders is a term, like I said. It's actually SLI, and it stands for street light interference. And then people who have street light interference are considered sliders. So you can be a slider. And what this is apparently there's a small group of people across the whole world that whenever they get close to one of these street lights, they go off. Or if they're off in the daytime, say, and they get close to it, it'll turn on. And these people have, I guess streetlights is the thing that they coined because that's the most common. But these people have some kind of electromagnetic field. These are the same types of people that you hear that can't wear a wristwatch.
It's funny that you bring that up because I can't. I can't wear a wristwatch. I can't carry a pocket watch. Nothing. I can have a wristwatch and it will really legitly last, no kidding, less than a week. And it's done. And I've never been. That's why, if you notice, I've never got one. It's because I love watches, but if you notice, I never have one. And it's because of that reason. Well, this started in high school, and I've never been able to have one since.
It's really interesting, and a lot of these people that are sliders that say they encounter this, sometimes it's not something that lasts their whole life. Maybe it's only a small period of their life that it happens. That doesn't happen at will, but it's almost like it's based on their mindset. So if they're really upset, or are tempered or anxious or something like that, then it really starts to trigger things. And like we were talking about wristwatches, these people can't wear a wristwatch because the battery will literally go dead in a week. And there's tons of these people that have said, I've bought numerous wristwatches over my lifetime, bought numerous batteries for them. They never work. Some of them lose time. Like they won't stop working, but they'll be like at the end of the week, 20 seconds off. And the guy will set it again. 10 days later, it'll be off again, or it'll speed up. And there's numerous cases in here. Here's one by a guy named Richard M., and he's a professional magician. And he's in his 30s, and he lives in London, England. And he recalls the moment when he became aware of his SLI ability. He was a teenager at the time, and he was taking his dog for a walk when he noticed that lights were going out whenever he walked under them. And they would flicker back on as he, walked on by. So they would come back on. He said, it didn't frighten me, but I became conscious of it. I remember walking under them, trying to make them go out, but I couldn't. The moment I stopped willing it to happen, it would start again, like someone catching me out or calling me out. I sort of anticipated it for a while and didn't really tell anyone about it. A few years ago, I noticed it happen again. The first time for a long time. Again, I was with my dog, and this time we turned out a number of lights in a car park and in my car from across the road. I told a close friend about it, and when I got home, he came out to watch from the other side of the road. As I walked around in the park, all the lights would go out when I got near them, and they would come back on as I walked away. It's like psychokinesis or something.
I've had that happen to me, but not to that level. But I have had lights, like in parking garages and things like that, those lights. Walk by them and just go solid, just go out. Just be coming back in from somewhere one night and park and get out, have them go out. I've been by televisions before and have televisions.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of these people have problems with other electronics. Their computers, if they hold a floppy disk in their hand, it'll erase all the memory that's on there.
And I've never had, but I have had a lot of trouble with things like that before in the past.
Yeah. And, there's a story in the book where a person in Athens, Greece asked that the music be turned down because it was too loud. And when they refused, she got mad and the electricity went off in the whole restaurant. And they had to finish their meal by candlelight.
It's funny because I've got an iPhone here, and every phone I've ever gotten, the battery seems to run down in it extremely fast. And I mean, you turn off everything where there's nothing running in the background, and things like that, to where it's just, and if I carry it on me for the whole, it won't, and I follow all the rules, don't plug it into this, don't leave it on like that.
You got to train the battery and stuff.
Nothing. I mean, it'll be gone in no time.
Do you find yourself building up a lot of static electricity, like if you walk around?
Like crazy. I can't get in and out of a vehicle without that shit popping like crazy.
Very common to sliders.
Dude, it happens to me at work. I mean, I get in that, bang. I mean, it hits me all the freaking time. I can get all the time. It's static electricity in my body constantly, and it aggravates me.
There's people that affect traffic lights. They screw up their computer. They affect railroad crossings.
Man, that's crazy.
Right? Here's another story of a lady named Diane B., and she's from Texas. And it says, street lights dim and go off at night, sometimes very slowly, sometimes very quickly. Streetlights go on in the full sunshine of the day, and at nighttime they'll go off. I have periods in my life where several appliances will break down, one after another. Regular light bulbs will also come on or go off when I'm around, even if I'm in other people's homes or restaurants or things like that. It says, I've had electronic garage door openers that would open on me or close on me in my house. It says that one time she was fighting with her husband. Like she was having an argument. And when she went out, she got in her car. And as soon as she got in the car and hit the ignition, the electric windows would go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. No matter how, even if she took the key out, it would continue. The only time it would stop is if she got out of the car.
That's pretty wild.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, it's almost like poltergeist activity.
Yeah.
You know, they say that that's common with like adolescent girls because I guess they just get emotional and stuff will start happening or manifesting itself.
You don't think they get emotional? Spend some time around my daughter.
But I mean, right when you first hear about it, you're like, okay, wow. You get near a light and it goes off. What's so crazy about that? But the gist of the story, though, is that these people are affecting things without touching them. They're somehow generating through thought of mind, but subconsciously, they even say that if they try to do it or try to manipulate something, it doesn't always work. But like if they're just something else that are very emotional about at the time, it'll cause it to happen. And here's another one named Geraldine. She's an English electrical design engineer. She said, in November 1992, it was the first anniversary of my mother's death. After work, I have to walk about a quarter of a mile from the British rail station to the car where I have it parked. The most direct route is down a narrow, well-lit alley, which leads to a flight of wooden stairs down to the beginning of the car park. As I descended the stairs and started to walk along the first section of the car park, one of the sodium streetlights illuminating the area went out. The same light went out the next 4 evenings every time I got close to it. In the last 2 or 3 months, every time I go near them, they all go out, and when I walk away, they come back on. She can't figure it out. You go on YouTube, you can find people doing it.
Really?
But, you know, some of those...
It could be done.
Somebody hitting the switch, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, how reliable is that?
Well, it's funny that you bring it up because really, I'm going to probably date myself, but anybody that remembers swatches when we were kids.
I remember those.
Okay. That's the first watch that I truly ever owned. I wanted a swatch, so I got one for Christmas. Okay? I was all excited about it. And I had it for like maybe a week or two. Now, this was 13 years old, probably. Yeah, probably 13. And boom, it dies. You know what I mean? Literally, I had it a week. And the first thing I thought, I got a good new battery. It was on display. They didn't sell it for a long time. It sat there, and then I got it. No big deal. Put a new battery in it. 2 weeks at best. Boom. Go get another battery. 2 weeks. Boom. That was it. It got to the point to where, and I'm 13, back in the day, I'm going in there to the jewelry store lady was the only one that had the batteries for these watches, and I'm carrying them in there and getting them, and she can't, I'm like, it don't work. And she would check it, and I hold it and put a new battery in it, and it got to where we did it 4 or 5 times, and she just wouldn't charge me for the battery. She's like, there's no way this is happening. Till finally, she's like, there must be a short in your watch. Something's wrong with the watch. So I'm like, well, and being a dumb kid, you're just like, well, I'm still looking cool, so I'm going to wear the watch.
Yeah, I remember that was the cool thing is to wear multiple ones.
Yeah, so I wear the watch. You jump forward. I wouldn't wear one for the longest time. My wife brings me a very nice watch. Same thing. I wear it, and I started noticing that it wasn't keeping proper time. It would be within, say, 36 to 48 hours, it may be 5 to 10 minutes off. And then, and I mean slow. You'd reset it, and then it may be another couple days later, it may be 10 minutes fast. And you're like, man, what the hell's going on? Then the battery might die. I mean, it's like I had hell with that watch. So I put it up. My grandfather passes away. I get his watch. Okay, his badass old watch. I'm wearing it. Same thing. Same thing's going on with it. And I get to know, and I have got like 9 watches at home in my drawer that will work great in my drawer. I put them bastards on and go anywhere with them. They don't work great some more. It's over. That's it. I mean, it's like nothing.
So your story is describing exactly what a lot of these people.
And then you talking about the static electricity kind of for me because like right now, I mean, I take this jacket off, it's going to be crackling.
I mean, everybody builds up static
Yeah.
electricity. You walk around, scoop socks on the carpet, you're going to build it up. But these people have a higher proclivity.
This is daily. This is every time I get out of a vehicle, there's static electricity. Now
let me ask you something. Now I know you pretty well, so I'm pretty sure of your answer. Have you ever had a near-death experience? Because they said this has nothing to do with sliders, but the people, because not every slider also has problems with wristwatches, but a high number of sliders have problems with wristwatches. But they do know that almost 50% of people who have near-death experiences from that moment forward have problems with wristwatches.
It's funny you bring that up because I guess you could actually say the only time, I don't know what you consider near-death, I had a pretty traumatic accident on a three-wheeler when I was about 12 years old.
Let's say that.
About, 11 or 12 probably. And it was a bad one. And I mean, it was massive head trauma, which explains a lot. Stitches, luckily no staples, a bad deal. It was a big wreck on a gravel road. I mean, I got photographs of it. It was a rough deal. It's the only time in my life that I ever remember being and even in us being in fights and doing dumb shit, ever being knocked unconscious and coming to. And I mean, it was a rough deal. Now, I don't know if you could consider that near death because, I mean, aside from a traumatic head injury or anything like that, but I also wasn't too young to really pay attention to watches or anything like that. But it wasn't too long after that happened, and it could be a coincidence that the TV blew out, and things. I was just, I don't know.
Have you ever had any problems with any electrical devices other than wristwatches?
My phone. Yeah. I mean, you could say that. I have problems with, not all of them, but with the majority of stuff. I mean, even like my iPod and things like that, it's constant. I'm always the guy that it seems like always like, man, how come mine always gets bugs? It always gets glitches. I don't know if
my wife has a problem with wristwatches, but she always has a problem with electronics.
Maybe that's what it is.
She has like little things, and I never thought about it until I read these articles. She always has a problem with it, and then I'll get a hold of it, and it'll work fine. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. And she'll be like, oh, I don't know. It's like she always has a problem. I always just thought, well,
that's the way I feel. It's because my wife hers is perfect. She has no problem with anything, nothing. I mean, anything electrical around it works like a champ. And then my shit's always something's going on with it. And then you bring up those lights. Like I said, I have had lights turn off or turn on while I've been by them before. But you always just think, oh, it's on a time. I never.
Yeah, there's something faulty. And some of the times it could be.
I'm sure it is. Until this very minute, I'd never even heard of what you're talking about.
No, that's why I thought it was fascinating. Now, if anybody wants to look it up, sliders is capital S, capital L, capital I, and then just DERS. SLI, Streetlight Interference Syndrome is what it's called. This guy just coined that name because he had to identify these people as a group. Sliders.
It's funny that you bring it up because I was listening to a Grelian show of Micah's where he was talking about the wristwatch thing. Not this, but he was talking about people having problems with wristwatches. And that's when I first got to thinking about it. It's probably been a month or so ago. That's when I first got to thinking about it. I'm like, man, I've had a shit ton of trouble with wristwatches.
The book is pretty neat. Like I said, the author is Hillary Evans, and you can get it at Anomalist Books, or you can get it on Amazon. It's just called Sliders, The Enigma of Streetlight. Well, he done slid on through, if you catch my drift.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he passed away in 2011.
Oh, damn.
So he done slid through already.
He did. Well, he knows the answer now.
Yeah, damn, that's what I was thinking. I mean, the more and more I was reading, I was like, man, Anomalous Books, we work with them.
Yeah.
I'm going to get this book. I'm going to talk to this guy. This is neat because I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it ever. Yeah, he's already passed away.
I'm still getting the book. We need to look into some more of that stuff. That's some really fascinating stuff.
Well, and it's got tons of stories in the book about different cases of these people. And like I said, a lot of people, it's depending on their mood that it seems to trigger it more. Like there was a guy that said he had a girlfriend. She lived across the street, and this is when he was a young man. And they would go over there and have some hot make-out sessions.
Right on.
And that's when it seemed to trigger it.
Well, hell yeah, it does.
Because, he was amped up.
Yeah.
That's like I said, the woman that fought with her husband. There's another woman in there, her daughter passed away and from something, and she was a young child. Her daughter was.
Yeah.
And so she was very distraught, and that's when this activity started happening, man. It would just screw up toasters, televisions, her computer, just like everything electronic would just... It just messed it up. So it's a form of telekinesis or parapsychology, which is the next thing I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
I went to WikiHow, baby, and I figured out how you can train yourself to do telekinesis. Are you ready?
Hook me up.
I'm going to put it in the show notes, too, so anybody out there who wants to learn how to do telekinesis.
WikiHow, baby.
How to develop telekinesis. This is I think it's a 7-step program.
That's all?
That's right, man.
It takes longer than that to get off a beer.
All right, well, check this out. Number 1 is you have to understand how telekinesis can help and how it's possible.
I'm already out. I'm already out.
All right, you ready?
Okay,
Number
go.
2.
Go. Yeah.
You have to choose your object that you want to be moved. In the beginning, it says pick something that has light mass. The farther apart the molecules inside this little thing, the easier it will be to manipulate it. That sounds simple, right?
I'm going to use this wrapper. Keep going. I'm going to make this wrapper move while I'm
Number
talking.
3, let go of the idea that the system and the manipulator are different because both contain the same energy.
Oh, I'm going to practice this. I almost made it move just then.
Number 4,
Hook me up.
recognize and feel energy that flows through your body.
Best recognize.
I guess this is like chi or something, right?
I'm harnessing my chi.
It says flex every muscle on one of your arms for 10 seconds, including your fist. After those 10 seconds are up, completely relax your arm and study the feeling of heat going through it. The heat may pulse or almost feel like an electrical sensation. The feeling that your muscle has after it's been contracted is the energy. That's what you need to be focusing.
I'm so yoked. I'm flexing out of my shirt.
Number 5, it says, decide whether you want to push, pull, or spin your object.
I'm a pusher.
Number 6, focus the energy and direct it towards your object. This is all simple, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
still doesn't tell you how to do
It doesn't
it.
tell you shit. It
Number
reads like
7,
stereo
number
instructions.
7 is the most important. Stop when you feel mentally or physically tired.
Then I'll never get a chance to
Do
start.
not continue until your fatigue is back to normal. WikiHow, folks, WikiHow, you can learn how to do telekinesis. I just told you that.
That's wiki bullshit.
It doesn't tell you anything.
don't
Look at
know.
an object and focus on it. That's how you do it. Okay. It's like
I'm
the
gonna-
force, right?
I'm going to try it, though.
But
I'm
you've
not
seen
going to
these.
stop.
Okay,
I'm going
now
to try
I could
it.
easily go find some stupid internet videos of these guys that claim they have chi. You've seen them all.
Yeah.
Martial arts dudes
Yeah.
that claim they can break bricks by yelling at it or just doing their palm or the 10,000,
Yeah.
the deadly heart strike.
Yeah.
It's
The
great.
Dim Mak
Kill
from
Bill, right?
Bloodsport.
Blood sport, right? It's an awesome idea. Do you really think that you could sit there and focus your chi? You've seen it where they knock a guy out
I got
with
the
that. That's
I like the band 5-finger death punch.
Here's what I'm saying. I do not want to have a myocardial infarction in any way, but I will challenge any sensei. If you can knock me down without physically touching me,
Yeah.
I want to see it.
Yeah.
I just don't be it. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to try to, I want to be able to do the Darth Vader where I can choke somebody. So when I'm on the mat and they got me in guard, I don't even got to put my hands on them. I can just go, and they're like, and they tap out. And I'm like, that's right, bitch.
Yeah,
what up
right.
now? What up now? I'm going to study that.
Well, this would be very handy. I thought about our DARPA episode. If you could learn how to influence and change electronic things, you could just like wipe it out just by thinking about
you
it.
telling me about the sliders means I'm no longer worried about DARPA. They get around me, they're done.
Could be if you could
I'm
learn how to
safe.
manipulate. Well, you get the WikiHow telekinesis,
And I'm already a slider.
a slider,
Chit
Streetlight
chat, and I'm going to be
interference.
wiki-howing it up with the telekinesis. I'm going to be like Firestar. I'm going to be like Drew Barrymore. I'm bringing the pain, baby.
Oh, that's all right. I forgot about that movie. That's an excellent movie.
When she's like doing all this and the hair blows and she hits it with a fireball and blows him up in the giant cottonwood tree.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Shit's kick
Maybe
ass.
and her father would like
Nose starts bleeding. He's like,
they make people like shoot.
these are not the
themselves and
droids you're looking for. It's not. Wrong movie. Sorry.
stuff. Yeah. So that's pretty neat. I mean,
I'm
sliders.
digging
I've
it.
never heard of slider.
You give me some shit I need to read up on. For sure.
Insane.
For sure. Hey, before we wrap this up, we got a few people that wrote up some reviews right
That's
quick. We want
right.
to give a
That's
little
right.
shout out
That's
to.
right. That's
They got on the
right.
show.
Let me
They
see here. I
rated,
have them
reviewed the
written
show.
down right here.
And we're going to play a little music when we go out. I told the guy I was going to play some because I made a friend on Twitter. And I got a lot of musician friends on Twitter now. And this guy's name's Doug Balmain. And I'll make sure to tell you how to spell his last name exact. But anyhow, I started listening to his music. Mm-hmm. It's badass.
That's cool.
It's badass. It was cool. Like I said, you get to meet these guys, and on Twitter, and I listened to it, and he's like, hey, man, check out my song. And I was like, holy crap, man, that is badass. Can I play some of it on my show? And he's like, dude, yeah, for sure you can. I'm like, man, thank you so much. So, like I said, everybody's been so super, super duper cool and real nice about everything. I'm going to make sure I get this right because I want y'all to check out his Twitter page and stuff. Because I'm kind of like some of that folk style music and stuff. I like all music, though, really. I mean, it's
Me too, man. I listen to everything. I mean, I listen to Texas country. I'll listen
Yeah.
to some rap, I'll listen to heavy metal. I mean, I just different times I'm like, man, I want to listen to this or I want to listen to that.
Doug Balmain is his name. Doug, D-O-U-G, B-A-L-M-A-I-N. And you can go at Doug Balmain for Twitter. You can go on YouTube and punch it up. Man, he has got some kick-ass songs. I really do dig them.
Awesome, man. Now, the 3 people that wrote reviews for us on iTunes, I'm going to give a shout out to them. There's one is TJ Texas. The other one is B.O. Michael. and the other one is Dixie D621. So thank you, whoever you are, for writing reviews. If you're new to the show, please, we urge everyone to go on to Apple and write a review, man. It helps us. When people search for podcast, the more reviews and positive feedback you have, the quicker you come up on that search list. So it helps us out. If you want to help out the show, that's the best way. Also, man, email us with ideas. We talked about it earlier in the show.
Yeah,
email
please.
us if you have any cool stories about can't wear a wristwatch, or you've influenced something you may not even have known about the sliders either, or UFOs that we talked about. Anything. If you have any authors you'd like us to talk to, or if you had any weird or strange experiences yourself,
Be part of the Slider
email the
Club
show.
with me, fellas.
Also, if you don't know, we have a website, expandedperspectives.com. You can go on there. You can hear all our podcasts. You can look at our upcoming guest. You can look at our book reviews.
You can leave comments on each show.
Yeah, on each show, we have the noteworthy news of the week. Every week we come out with news and interesting stories from around the world. Also, there is some videos on there, Giants and some Graham Hancock stuff. You can email the show, expandedperspectives@yahoo.com. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow the show on Facebook. Just get in touch with us. We'd like to really have this relationship with our fans.
Well, and I'm glad you bring that up, because I wanted to ask you something I've been thinking about the last several weeks and see what you thought about this. It feels like it almost made me more, I think doing this show has made me a better person overall. And I say that because there's no more like hiding your feelings from people. I mean, you're really letting people in on a part of yourself, the things you believe, and you're being sincere about things. I mean, you could hide things, and but I think it comes off that way. People know.
I think it's opened my mind up to a lot of stuff. Before, I would listen to some podcasts and stuff, and I'd be like, "Man, this is junk."
Yeah,
and I'd almost badmouth it to myself. I'm not really trolling them, but then I got to start. Now that I've been doing this, it's really changed my mind. I'm like, "Look, man, it might not be for you, but that person is taking time out of their day. They're putting a lot of work into it, and it's all free."
Yeah.
So if I don't like it, the nicest thing to do is just to quit listening.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get on there and badmouth them.
I'm not going to be that guy. Well, and that's what I want to say.
I'm saying it's made me a little nicer because you just start appreciating
it. Makes, and that's what I want to say is whenever I say, and I know Kyle does too, whenever I say, I really do appreciate this, and I really do feel like y'all are enjoying it, it means a lot to me. It really does. I mean, it really feels like a gift. It means a lot to me to get those emails. People email us. We just got one, and the guys telling us we're doing a great show. And
yeah, I love that.
I love it. And I mean, I'm being honest. I'm not being one of those guys that, you kind of laugh it off as, I'm getting famous and all that. Look, it's not ever what we intended to do. We did this for fun. We did this to be able to share some ideas and just give back to everything that's brought us the enjoyment. And when I say that, I do thoroughly mean every bit of it. I really do. I love and appreciate every one of our fans. It really means a lot.
We're just two
us,
two blue collar guys that are into crazy cryptids and stuff, and we always talk to each other and decided to do a podcast. We're just like you, and we love to hear the feedback. To me, it makes it feel like what I'm doing is worthwhile.
It does.
Don't be afraid to email us.
Ever.
Well, I mean, we're going to answer you.
Tweet us. Get on Facebook. If we are at any lecture and you see us and you want to come up and talk to us. We'll sit down. We'll shake hands, give out hugs, take pics, whatever, man. That's it, man. We are just all about just being good, and having like a universal love for everything. It's just, I know it sounds silly and spiritual, but I really am serious. I think if you put out that good energy and you put out the fun, we have a lot of fun. And
I love it.
We've made so many friends on this show.
I've made more new friends in the last 5 months than I have in the last 15 years.
It's the way it feels, doesn't it? I mean, we've to our listeners. I mean, we've got some good friends that send us emails and our listeners. And then we've got some of the authors that we've gotten to be really good friends with that we talk to some of these guys, folks, but we don't even record. I mean, we just send, get on Skype and we all start visiting. And I mean, we don't record it. We're just talking about, upcoming shows and
Ryan
everything.
Fram.
Yeah.
He's emails. What's your friend?
Jeff Adamson. He's hitting me up on stuff and give me some good pointers and things like that. And we talked to Micah. We talked to, oh man, like we talked to Rick Osmond was great. I mean, we talked to a bunch of these, to Lyle, to Nick. I mean, we talk to these guys often. To Craig Woolhead. We talk to these dudes.
Oh, you remember,
almost personally.
Now that you're talking about people,
great.
I just thought about a fan, Jessica at 3 a.m. Fright.
Yes.
Remember last episode I was talking about the show with the werewolves that surrounded it?
Yeah.
The name of the show is Paranormal Witness, and she tweeted me like a day after the show
She got you
came out.
fixed up.
That's exactly what it is. The show is Paranormal Witness, and it's called like the Wolf Pack or something. You can go on the Sci-Fi channel on the website, on the internet. Sorry, I can't
and
talk.
find it.
And you can find all the old episodes. That one's a really neat one. This guy's house is surrounded by like 8 to 9 werewolves.
Is it from the same thing that Linda was talking to us about?
Yes. Okay. So the story she was talking about, this is a reenactment of it. And then, I don't know, man. It's creepy and it's neat to watch, but I don't know how much I believe. This dude just strolls outside. Okay, first of all, this is out in the country.
Shouldn't even got going again.
In Maine, okay? Yeah. The guy keeps his guns not in his house, but in his barn.
Why?
I don't know anybody that does that in Texas.
Wait. That's because his wife didn't like it.
Maybe, but
you know what that's called? Here in Texas, it's called a divorce. That's called a single guy is what that's called.
So now there's werewolves surrounded his house, so he just decides to walk from his house to the barn to get the gun. And he's encumbered by these werewolves. So then he gets scared and runs back in the house. Okay, get ready. Like a half hour later, his wife's telling him, don't ever go out there, then they get you. 30 minutes later, he tries to go back out again, and again, the werewolves stop him from going to. I'm like, dude.
Surprise.
Yeah. I don't know if that's real. If you could imagine seeing multiple werewolves in your yard, would you just stroll out there and be like, I think I'm going to get my pistol. Yeah.
Looky here, Daddy got to get his shotgun.
I'm pretty sure I'd get the gun and then put it in the roof of my mouth and end it.
Just be like, no, I would just open the window and I would throw my wife out on one side of the lawn so they could go after her, then I'd run and get the gun.
Yeah.
Would be the best way to do it.
Anyways, it's a pretty neat
And
show.
folks, too, I just thought of this. And another real good friend of ours we've talked to quite a bit is Gerard Williams. After the interview and all that stuff, Gerard's a great
we've
guy.
got to be pretty cool friends with him.
Yeah. If you want to find us, we have personal Facebooks, too. That if you want to be friends with us, we'll be friends with you.
There's nothing exciting on there.
No.
I mean, on mine, there's not. You're going to see pictures of my kids doing stupid stuff and me doing dumb things.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
But
You're welcome to join.
Yeah.
If you want me to, I'll be your friend, but you're not going to see anything.
Kyle Philson, and I go by Cam, but it's Cameron. My name is Cameron Hale, and you can find Cameron Hale in there. And you'll see me. I even have my Twitter pic is up for our personal pic. So if you want to be friends with us, man, shoot us some Facebooks. We'll be friends. Like I said, you're going to see me doing stuff with my family, which is pretty much all I get to do these days. And me and Kyle going and doing some dumb stuff from time to time. And that's it, man. Like I said, we have a great time discussing things with y'all and interviewing these people. And if it wasn't for all y'all, we wouldn't even know we were getting anywhere with it. So I really am thankful.
Me too.
For this whole thing. It's been a great
If you
ride.
enjoy the show, man, tell your friends.
Yeah, please help us get us out there. If you really enjoy it, tell your friends, take our Facebook page and share it with all your friends and tell somebody, or, download it for them, whatever it takes. Send some emails around the office. We'll get some stuff going on. And we are going to get some shirts made. I know we've been saying that. Damn it, me and Kyle have been after it. We're going to get some shirts made. And if we can get it worked out the way we want to, we're going to have them for sale on the website. We're going to get them, and they're not going to be expensive. What are we going to try? We're going to try to sell them for $15 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Come on, man. We're just not. And we're going to go ahead and drop the bomb. We don't know when we're going to do this, but we are talking about doing an extra show a week. We're talking about doing 2 a week. And we've been kicking around the idea. We may wait another year or so. We don't know yet. But we've been kicking around the idea of doing a little, like a paid-for service, a lot like some of these people do, to pay for 2 shows a week. So instead of doing 4, you'll get 8 shows. Now that being said,
you'll still get our normal show for free. Yeah.
You'll still get the normal
show
show for free.
More of the show,
and you'll always get all the interviews. Will still be free.
Yeah.
What we may end up doing is if we go over, because we've had some interviews that's run a good ways over, and we just couldn't use all of it, in the one show that we put out. So if we have additional interviews and additional stuff and things like that, we may tack that on to the show, and then it'll be me and Kyle. But you'll always have the authors will always come on for free and talk, and we'll still do our shows for free. It's just it's an idea. So if you think that might be cool, let us know. Shoot us some emails or whatnot like that. Like I said, it's not coming anytime soon, but it might. I mean, hell, we don't know. Like, this stuff's been snowballing. We're crazy with the way this thing's going, and it's all because of y'all. So we just want to keep getting it all out there. So like I said, we're gonna try to get some shirts and maybe some stickers and stuff made up we can get sent out, and we're gonna send some out to some people. So yeah, I mean, it's all been going great, but we really do appreciate every bit of this. So thank you so much.
All right, man. We've already got a ton of interviews in the can, so we're pretty much booked through that deal. So
yeah, we're gonna have some really interesting ones. So like we said at the start of the show, Gerard Williams will be next Monday.
That's right.
And it'll be about the escape of Adolf Hitler. So we'll get in a little early on that deal and kind of
what's the holiday today?
Martin Luther King.
That's right, Martin Luther Day. So
Martin Luther
enjoy
King
your
Jr.
time
Day.
off if you have off. I have to work, but I know a lot of people will be off.
Don't.
Kids are out of school, so
I'm not working. I say that. I'll be working on stuff for the show. That's pretty much the extent of it. So, folks, from the bottom of our heart, thank you so much for joining us. Y'all make sure to have a very safe and happy weekend. Take care of each other. Give everybody some hugs and some love, and we will talk to y'all next week.
Nothing nothing in this world but pleasure for pain. Oh, a nickel costs a dime, an arm costs a leg. Everything's changing, but it all stays the same. That's why I seek shelter in the wind and the rain. So I'll lay down in the rain. I'll lay down in the rain. Oh, let the mud and the water flow through my veins. Well, I'll lay down in the rain. I never set out to dirty my hands. Life has made it hard to keep them clean. The kindest soul can raise a black flag, and the strongest can fall to their knees. But I won't be held on to by no preaching man, that's far too cold for me. A bar of soap and my own two hands is all I'll need to get clean. So I'll lay down in the rain. I'll lay down in the rain. Oh, let the mud and the water flow through my veins. Well, I'll lay down in the rain.